I found out on my dad's birthday that he's not my real father, and he stole $10,000 from me. I never thought my dad's birthday would be the day my entire life would flip upside down. What was supposed to be a small family celebration turned into a nightmare I still can't wrap my head around. I, 27M, grew up believing my father, Mark, was just a strict but well-meaning parent. He wasn't affectionate, but he paid for things when he had to, showed up at school events occasionally, and acted like the kind of man who wanted everyone to respect him. My mom always defended his coldness by saying, he's just not the emotional type. For his 58th birthday last month, my mom organized a small dinner at their house. My sister Emily, 25F, was there with her fiancé, and a few family friends came over. Everything was fine, until Mark made a speech that set off a chain reaction I'll never forget. He started thanking everyone for coming, then said, "Family means everything to me, even when they're not really family." Everyone laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. But then he looked directly at me. His eyes were cold. He said, "You know, maybe today's a good day to tell the truth." I froze. My mom's face went pale instantly. Emily asked what he was talking about, but he just smirked and said, "Ask your mother who your real father is, son." The entire room went silent. My mom begged him to stop, but he wouldn't. He started ranting, saying how he raised someone else's kid, how it explains why we never got along, and how he should have known better than to waste money on a lie. I stood up, shaking. "What are you talking about?" I asked. That's when my mom broke down crying. She admitted that she had an affair years ago, before she even realized she was pregnant with me. Mark found out after I was born, but they decided to keep it secret and raise me as his own. I can't even describe what that felt like. It was like my chest collapsed. Everyone at the table was stunned. Emily looked betrayed, I felt sick, and my mom kept apologizing while Mark just sat there, proud of himself for telling the truth. I left. I didn't yell or break anything, I just walked out. A few days later, I got a text from my mom asking me to come over to talk. I wasn't ready, but I went anyway. When I got there, she begged me to forgive her. I told her I needed time. Then she mentioned something else, something that made the betrayal even worse. Apparently, $10,000 had gone missing from my savings account last year. I had been saving for a down payment on an apartment, and one day, the money was just gone. I thought it was a bank issue or maybe I messed up somehow, but the bank said the transfer was authorized from my account to my dad's. When I confronted her, she said she knew about it, that Mark took it, but she didn't want to cause another fight. Let me say that again, my not real dad stole $10,000 from me, and my mom covered for him. I went back to confront him, and he didn't even deny it. He said, "You owe me that much for raising you." I saw red. I told him he's nothing to me now, not a father, not even a man I can respect. He smirked again and said, "You'll thank me one day for making you tough." Since then, I've cut contact with both of them. My sister is furious with both our parents and has my back completely. She told me that Mark's been bragging to people that he finally put the truth out there. As for me, I've started the process of legally reclaiming my stolen money, but I know it's unlikely I'll get it back. Still, I need to try, not for the cash, but for my own peace of mind. The worst part isn't the $10,000, though. It's looking back on every moment I tried to earn that man's love, every Father's Day card, every hug he ignored, every time I called him Dad and thought I was just the problem. Turns out, I wasn't. He was never my dad to begin with. Would you forgive your mom in this situation? Because I don't even know where to begin. It's been a few weeks since that birthday dinner that destroyed whatever was left of my family. I wasn't even planning to post an update, but so much has happened that I don't even recognize my life anymore. After that night, I cut contact with both of my parents. My sister Emily sided with me completely. she said what Mark did wasn't telling the truth, it was revenge. She's the only reason I didn't lose my mind completely during those first days. But things didn't stay quiet for long. My dad tried to justify everything. About a week later, I got a long text from Mark. It said, "You may hate me now, but one day you'll understand. I gave you a roof, food, and my name. I didn't owe you that. The money I took was compensation for the years I wasted on lies." Compensation. That word hit me like a knife. He ended the message with, "If you go to the police or embarrass me publicly, you'll regret it. You're nothing without me." I didn't even reply. I forwarded the message to Emily, and she said, "He's spiraling." She wasn't wrong. 2 days later, he showed up at my apartment building. I didn't let him in. He stood outside, shouting through the buzzer about how ungrateful I was, how my real dad probably left because of me, and how I should thank him for raising a bastard. I called the cops. They didn't arrest him but warned him to leave. That's when I decided I needed to find out the truth, once and for all. 2. The search for my real father. Mom had been texting me non-stop, begging me not to dig up the past. Which, of course, only made me want to dig deeper. I finally agreed to meet her, not to forgive her, but to get answers. She looked terrible. Red eyes, shaking hands, like she hadn't slept in days. I asked her straight out, "Who is my real father?" She froze for a full minute. Then she whispered a name, Daniel Hayes. He was someone she worked with briefly before she met Mark. They'd had a short relationship, and when she found out she was pregnant, she told Daniel she wanted to raise the baby with Mark instead. Daniel apparently wanted to be part of my life, but Mark threatened to leave her if she didn't cut all contact. I just sat there, numb. I asked if Daniel was still alive. She said she didn't know, they hadn't spoken in nearly 28 years. I asked if she had any pictures of him. She pulled out an old photo album and handed me a faded picture of a young man with brown hair and a kind smile. And I swear, he looked exactly like me. 3. The DNA test. With Emily's help, I found a man named Daniel Hayes living 2 states away. He was in his early 50s, the age lined up perfectly. I sent him a message online explaining that I was looking for someone who might have known my mom in the 90s. To my surprise, he replied the next day. He said he remembered her, and when I mentioned my name, he said something that made me shake. "I always wondered what happened to you." He agreed to a DNA test immediately. When the results came back, it was 99.9% positive, Daniel is my biological father. He told me that when he tried to contact my mom after I was born, Mark threatened him, told him he'd never see his kid, and that if he didn't back off, he'd make his life miserable. So Daniel eventually gave up, assuming she'd made her choice. He never married. Never had other kids. He said he always felt something was missing. When I met him in person for the first time, it was overwhelming. He didn't cry or make a big scene. He just looked at me quietly and said, "You look like your grandmother." We talked for hours, about everything and nothing at the same time. He apologized for not fighting harder, but honestly, I didn't blame him. The person I held responsible was the man who lied to me for nearly 3 decades. The man who called himself my father while secretly hating me for existing. 4. The fallout. When Mark found out that I'd located Daniel, he went ballistic. He sent Emily a ranting voicemail calling me pathetic, saying I was trying to replace him. Then came the final blow, he called my workplace. He told my manager I was mentally unstable and harassing my elderly parents. I had to sit in HR and explain the whole situation just to clear my name. Thankfully, they were understanding. Apparently he sounded drunk during the call. That was the moment I realized he wasn't just angry, he was dangerous. I got a restraining order. Mom finally left him after that. She said she didn't realize how far he would go. I told her she'd known for years, she just didn't want to face it. She cried, said she lost both her sons, but I corrected her. She lost my trust, not me. 5. The $10,000. As for the money, I filed a police report and submitted all the bank evidence. The detective said since it was a direct transfer, it would take time, but they'd seen similar cases before. A few days ago, I got an update: the bank froze one of Mark's accounts pending investigation. It's not about the money anymore. It's about principle. About the fact that he used every ounce of power he had to hurt me, even financially. 6. The ending, for now. Daniel and I talk almost every day now. He's been patient, careful, not trying to replace anyone, just being there. He even came with me when I met Emily for dinner last week. She hugged him like she'd known him her whole life. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe one day I'll forgive my mom. Maybe not. But I do know one thing: blood doesn't make you family. Character does. And the man who raised me might have given me his last name, but the man I just met gave me something far more important: truth. It's been 4 months since I found out the man who raised me wasn't my father, and that he stole $10,000 from my savings. 4 months since my entire world cracked open like glass. And in those 4 months, everything changed, legally, emotionally, and in ways I didn't see coming. If you read the last post, you know I found my biological father, Daniel, and confirmed everything with a DNA test. You also know my so-called dad, Mark, spiraled after that, showing up at my building, calling my work, and raging about betrayal. But this part? This is how it all came crashing down for him. 1. The investigation. After I filed the police report about the stolen money, I honestly didn't expect much. I assumed he'd get a slap on the wrist and I'd just have to move on. But apparently, things escalated faster than anyone expected. It turns out the $10,000 wasn't the only money he'd taken. When the Financial Crimes Unit dug through his accounts, they found a pattern of small transfers from multiple relatives, including my grandmother's old trust fund, which he'd been managing. There were missing amounts that no one had noticed because he'd been quietly moving bits of money for years. He'd been stealing from everyone. When I got the call from the detective, I almost dropped my phone. They told me Mark was now under official investigation for fraud and theft exceeding $70,000. Apparently, when I confronted him about my $10,000, he panicked, and that panic led him to do something stupid. He tried to move more money out of another account, which flagged his profile. That's how they caught him. Ironically, my stolen money exposed all his crimes. 2. The downfall. A week later, I got a call from my sister, Emily. "He's been arrested," she said, her voice shaking. "They took him in this morning." I didn't believe it until I saw the local news article. There he was, my father, or whatever he was, in a mugshot, with the headline: "Local contractor charged with financial fraud after family accuses him of theft." I thought I'd feel relief, but honestly, it was complicated. It wasn't joy. It was exhaustion. I'd spent years trying to earn that man's approval, and now he was just another criminal in the paper. My mom called me crying again. She said she never wanted things to go this far, that she just wanted peace. I told her peace was never going to happen as long as she kept protecting someone who didn't deserve it. She finally admitted that she'd known he was borrowing money from family accounts. She just believed he'd pay it back someday. He never did. 3. The confrontation at court. A few weeks later, I had to testify, not in a dramatic way, but as part of a statement confirming the unauthorized transfer from my account. When I walked into that courtroom and saw him sitting there in an orange jumpsuit, it didn't feel real. He looked smaller somehow. Older. Broken. He didn't make eye contact until I finished my statement. When he finally did, he muttered, "You ruined me." I just said, "You did that yourself." He didn't say another word. Later, his lawyer tried to offer a settlement, partial repayment to drop the charges. I refused. I told the prosecutor I wanted the case to go through. Not for revenge, but because he had to face consequences. 4. Rebuilding. After that, something inside me shifted. I started therapy. I needed it more than I realized. My therapist said I'd been living with conditional love trauma, constantly chasing approval from someone who never intended to give it. It made sense. My entire childhood was built around trying to be good enough for a man who saw me as a reminder of betrayal. Daniel, my real father, became a big part of my healing. He didn't try to take over. He just listened. He'd text me every morning, small things like, "Hope your day's okay," or "Don't forget lunch." It was weirdly comforting. Eventually, he told me something that stuck with me. The man who raised you taught you what not to be. Let that guide you, not define you. I didn't realize how powerful that was until I started to forgive myself, not them, myself. For believing lies, for trusting the wrong people, for staying silent when I should have spoken. I bought a small condo recently, with the help of a loan and a chunk of my savings. Daniel helped me move in. We built a little bookshelf together, and at one point, he looked around and said, "You did this. You made your own life." That hit hard. 5. What happened to Mark? He ended up pleading guilty to multiple counts of fraud and theft. The court sentenced him to 3 years in prison and ordered him to repay $68,000 to various family members, including the $10,000 he took from me. I'll probably never see the full amount, but I don't care anymore. The closure was worth more than the cash. The day of his sentencing, I didn't go to court. Emily did. She said he didn't look at anyone. Just stared at the floor when the judge read the sentence. After that, Mom sold their house and moved in with her sister out of state. She keeps trying to call me. Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I don't. She's trying to rebuild, but I'm not ready to trust her again. Maybe someday. 6. Full circle. A few weeks ago, Daniel invited me to meet his side of the family. I met my grandparents, my real grandparents, for the first time. They're in their 80s, gentle, warm people who hugged me like they'd known me forever. His mom said, "We prayed for you every year, hoping you were okay." I cried. I didn't even care who saw. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. No pretending. No walking on eggshells. No being afraid of saying the wrong thing. Just family. And that night, when I got home, I realized something. The man who raised me stole my money, lied about my blood, and tried to ruin me. But in doing so, he freed me. He forced me to rebuild myself from zero, and in the process, I found the truth, my real father, and a version of myself I actually like. 7. The letter. Before I finish this, there's one last thing. Last week, I got a letter from prison. From Mark. It said, "You got what you wanted. You ruined my life. But at least now you know where you come from. I hope it was worth it." I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote a reply, not to send, just to write. I didn't ruin your life. You did. You could have been my father, even if I wasn't your son. But you chose to be cruel instead. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I burned the letter afterward. And that was the first time in years I slept through the night without nightmares. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. Family isn't the people who share your DNA, it's the ones who protect your heart. I lost the man I called Dad. But I found something better. The truth, and a father who never stopped hoping I'd find my way back. Final. It's been a year now. The court case is over, my dad is still serving time, and I've finally moved on. I talk to my real father, Daniel, almost every day. We don't dwell on the past, we just live. Mom's trying to rebuild her life, and while I'm not ready to fully forgive her, I've stopped hating her. Sometimes I think about that birthday night, how one truth destroyed everything I knew. But now I see it differently. It didn't destroy me. It freed me. I lost a liar who pretended to be my father. And I gained a man who truly wanted to be one.